Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We had the absolute opposite of last weekend. Celtic went to Tannadice in very windy conditions to take on a Jim Goodwin side that I couldn't believe it. I heard it in the build-up to the game, but we did hear it pre-match that this was the first time that Brendan Rodgers was going to Tannadice or facing Dundee United, period. In a game that, we wanted to build on the cup final success of last week and continue that domestic dominance. But as soon as the team sheet came out, it became clear that this game was going to be unlike anything that had been forecasted, with a multitude of changes coming in, with a bit of a sickness bug through the squad, not just in the starting 11 but on the bench as well. This was a game that was always going to test the strength and depth that Celtic have and put the second string guys really to the sword in terms of, can you step up in these situations, can you deliver and make sure that we still go out there and get the points. In the video today we're going to break down what we've seen in this 0-0 draw, as well as player ratings, the passages of play, and really why this game didn't result in a victory ultimately. As ever, guys, the comment section and the videos on the channel have been absolutely on fire. I'm really looking forward to seeing what your big takeaways, thoughts and feelings were in this game, because we had a lot of unusual characters feature throughout the game, as well as some unusual tactics as well. So really interested to see what your guys' thoughts and feelings are coming out of the game at any point in the video. If you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We recently smashed through 10,000 subscribers and we are pushing towards 18,888. And if you do enjoy the content here, it does mean a lot to everyone here at the Celts are here if you could hit the subscribe button and show your support, of course. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into this one, because it wasn't a terribly exciting match from start to finish. I think there was a lot of drama that ensued, or a lot of conversation certainly, as soon as the team sheet came out, because Brendan Rodgers in the pre-match press conference did intimate that maybe Alistair Johnson was maybe carrying a wee bit of a knock and maybe he would be rested, but otherwise no other names were mentioned, and it was a case of the majority of the squad should be there available, and there's maybe been a little bit of a bug going around. And we see Ralston expected to kind of feature, I think, in this game, make up the defence alongside Stephen Welsh, Liam Scales and Greg Taylor. And although Scales has been, one of our best defenders, if not our best defender this season, he's not been in the best 11, the first choice 11 for the last month or so. So I think a lot of people would have expected coming into this game it was going to be Vickers and Trusty. So to have two totally different centre-backs, and the two centre-backs that you'd have expected to start, and even at the very least you'd have probably expected Carter Vickers to start, are not even in the squad, not even on the bench. We see Mike Naroki make the bench in this game. And a back four that had played once before, the commentary team told us before kickoff, but very much a throwback defence to a time when Ange, I think, was probably under Ange the last time these guys played together, was really transitioning the squad from one era into the next, as it were. Maybe it played under Rodgers, I forget, but it played once before. And I think, for the most part, every individual here in the defence, Greg Taylor included, have shown themselves previously to be good enough kind of at this level, but all of them put together, without Carter Vickers being there, without Alistair Johnson being there. Schmeichel's obviously been a very impressive goalkeeper this year, but he's only just in the door, so it's not as even as if you've got the synergy of Joe Hart, somebody had been there in goals for the last 3 or 4 seasons to kind of shepherd them through. So that's where all the attention was, that's where the main focus was coming into the game, as well as Luke McKeown starting in midfield alongside Rio Hatate and Callum McGregor, which I genuinely was really surprised to see this combination midfield three, especially away from home, because we spoke about on the channel a fair amount of times about the different combinations we could see and we do see in midfield, and that Rodgers has seemingly avoided at all costs playing the 3 wee guys together. But we got the 3 wee guys together in this game, and it was, it maybe gave us something. We'll talk about how the first half panned out in a moment, because the other change that we had that was a big surprise in the starting 11 was Yang coming in for Kuhn, who Brendan said pre-match had a bit of a sore knee, and although he trained, he still wasn't feeling too great, so they decided not to risk him starting Yang on the right hand side, with James Forrest now being out for the next 5 or 6 weeks with an injury he picked up in the cup final. So a very surprising starting 11, and I think Dundee United tweaked their game plan a little bit, ever so slightly. Now the way this game worked out with the weather, you're kind of playing against the wind and with the wind in both halves, depending on what half we're talking about. And in the first half we were playing with the wind, it felt like, and you really seen that Dundee United were trying to play out from the back from their goalkeeper, trying to keep the ball on the ground and work it through the pitch. And in the first half, they really couldn't have been any deeper. Honestly, they were camped so far in their box that over about 4 or 5 different passages of play in the first half, we actually had Welsh around this area here with Scales on their side of the semicircle in their half. We had them absolutely boxed into their own half more than any other game I think I've seen us have this season so far. And this is me kind of started the defence out here as if they're playing out from the back. But even in open play, they were being really compact and really deep and just giving us the majority of the pitch, so much so that Welsh and Scales could set up camp very comfortably in and around these zones here and really then start to pin them into their own half. And sadly, this game kind of showed some of the weaknesses that we've had over the last couple of weeks, where we've needed Brendan Rodgers to change the game off the bench, or we've needed that half-time interval for the manager to send a different message or to tweak the route to goal, the angle of approach in the game. And it really highlighted it all for all to see in this one. Now, I did think the three wee-man midfield that we had worked actually pretty well in the first half, because although McGregor was still rather anchored into the middle ground here, McKeown and Hatate were really free to go everywhere and anywhere in amongst this kind of royal rumble of Dundee United midfield and defence to try and get on the ball and try and knit the style of play. But I had massive flashbacks in this game to the last time that we seen Yang start, and it was when Yang was on the right and Palma started on the left. I think that might have been against Motherwell, Ross County or something like that. I forget right now. But there was no desire for us to go down the right-hand side, very similar to the time that we did start Palma on the left and Yang on the right, where it felt like the ball just never went down the right-hand side. We wanted to do everything down the left, so much so that in the opening 15 minutes of the game, we actually seen 2 or 3 times from Scales, maybe once or twice from Welsh, the centre-backs going beyond Callum McGregor, which is something that Trusty is okay at and something that Vickers never does. But that was an interesting kind of dynamic we've seen at times, that they would carry the ball out from defence into the midfield area here. But no matter where the ball came from, we wanted to get the ball onto Scales and onto Taylor. This is the side of the pitch that normally teams are trying to exploit and trying to, counter-attack us on, because it's perceived to be the weakest. But with Middleton and Ferry down here at left back and left mid, it definitely felt that Dundee United thought our chance to get in this game is going to be between Welsh and Ralston and Yang, trying to nip the ball off of them and play into spaces off the back of them. And it was a very clear route to goal they had, gave them little moments of joy throughout the 90 minutes in different periods. But you could see from us, we didn't want to go down that side of the pitch at all. And this really then comes to highlight one of the major problems we've had, over the season so far, despite all the success that we've had, that Daizen Maeda is not a great winger. And when we're trying to play down the left-hand side continuously, Hatate got into a few spots to play some crosses around these types of areas here, as did Greg Taylor, and that was nice when it did come off. But when we're going down the left so often, we're always going to be looking for Daizen, and especially in the first 5 or 10 minutes, the amount of balls that he just missed out on, that went out for throw-ins and stuff like that, nothing really, got going. There wasn't a great harmony on that left-hand side, nice give and goes and creating, openings for shots and goal creation. In the first half, we had 74% possession, and we made 9 goal attempts with 1 shot on target, 7 off target, which just gave us an XG of half a goal. Now, to kind of put that into layman's terms, we got no good chances at all in the first half, despite 74% possession. Only 2 corners, 4 shots came from inside the box, 5 out with. And because we're relying on Daizen to have some nice wing play here, Ryan Strain, who by the way previously at St Mirren and any other time we've faced him over the last couple of years, has been one of those defenders that can stand up to Daizen if it's shoulder to shoulder, if Dysen's on his heels receiving the ball into feet. And, he had a very busy day at the office, but it wasn't a blinding performance from him, as it were, and it's actually something that we've seen previously. And really, any nice little segments that we did get in the first half was those rare occasions where the midfield three actually played a little bit of give and go with one another, where maybe McGregor would zip into our little space after a 1-2 with Hatate, or Hatate and McKeown would play 1 or 2 off each other and send one of them towards the final third to maybe then try and find one of the front 3. And that just didn't happen often enough. Too often we're going down the left here and playing copy, rinse and repeat. We're trying to get the ball out here. When Dundee United being really good man for man and just turning the ball out for throw-ins and even just disrupting the play, making sure that we couldn't make advanced passes, which meant we always had to come back into these types of zones back here and try and recycle the play, decide we weren't going to play down the right and then try and go back down the left-hand side again. And really, when it came to half-time, I didn't think that we were playing too bad. I didn't think the manager was going to change too much out because we had all of the ball. We didn't make any mistakes. They had actually no presence at all in the final third. And it was a case of just get a shot or 2 away, get it off, get it on target and make the keeper work. And, we were kind of doing everything right without quite getting there. I do think that out of, especially in the first half, you could see that McKeown wasn't quite given the same level of performance that we've seen against some of the other teams in the league in recent weeks. And subsequently, you did feel that Yang was really deer in the headlights, sadly. He got into some good positions, and it was just playing blind passes. That one where he fizzes across the 6-yard box here. He's not seen that, everyone's hanging back on that one, or he's ahead of the game, and he should be cutting back rather than playing the channel ball. And from there, you just kind of felt his confidence went down a little bit, and he is a guy that has a lot of raw ability that you could mould into a better player. And with the minutes and the chances that he's been getting, I heard the boys on Axom talking about how he's actually made more Celtic appearances. He's probably not got more minutes, but he's made more appearances than Kuhn at this stage. And you do really think that this was maybe one of his last chance saloon opportunities. We did kind of feel he had that the last time he started, but through circumstance and whatever, he's got another chance. And sadly, throughout the 60 minutes that he played in this game, I don't really feel that he took it at all. Stephen Welsh, but in the first half, really throughout the game, didn't put a foot wrong, made all the passes you'd expect him to, and even like I mentioned a minute ago, actually carried the ball a little bit better than some of the other centre-backs we've got in the squad, and really then just made it a bit easier to try and find Hatate in the half space and just make sure that they were because sometimes Dalby and Thompson would be like this, kind of against the defence, and then as soon as we would get to a certain area, the boy Thompson would drop back in deeper, as would this Savelge, if that's how you say his name. And I think Welsh did pretty good at that. I don't think you could really levy any problems at Welsh today. I thought he was very much pass marks, very similar to Anthony Ralston. But I think what we do miss with Welsh and Ralston in particular on this side here is we didn't get that drive from Alistair Johnston. And I think even if Vickers was in here, we might have got a bit more drive out of Ralston, but because it was Welsh, it just felt that this side of the pitch was just on stabilisers, or just had the leash on a little bit, where it was don't do anything, you need to be extra conservative, extra safe, and we'll get the left hand side to try and take some chances and make some of the openings, with Taylor doing the inverted fullback job, and with McKeown and Hatate given that licence to kind of roam in the pockets and try and find the spaces to play within. And coming out for the second half, we didn't see any changes. There was no half-time subs, and really in terms of the style of play or the route to goal or whatever, there was no real change to that either. But you did feel that there was a little bit more urgency, things moved a little bit quicker, and we started to get some shots away from the edge of the box. Because again, for, the 5th or 6th game in a row domestically, we've really not taking the best of the openings that we've made, and we're getting through games without testing the goalkeeper anywhere near as much as we could. I'm getting massive deja vu back to, never mind Zagreb and Bruges, but other games, like I mentioned before, that Rodgers has had to change it from the bench to get those shots happening, to get the goals in the net, to get the game won. And I was really interested to see how the manager was going to change it from this situation, because the squad was quite thin anyway. The bench still had some good weapons on it in terms of their high quality players, guys that could certainly change the shape and maybe try and change the direction. But I was not prepared for the subs that Rodgers was about to make at 60 minutes. Bringing on Ida for Luke McKeown, chocolate bar, and bringing on Palma for Yang was not what I expected to see at all. But what we got for a period in this match was football the way God intended it. Good old Lisbon Lions 4-2-4 action. Palma goes over to the left, Dyson comes over to the right, and then we get Ida really being the arrowhead, with Kyogo looking to kind of play a bit deeper and play off the shoulder in that kind of not quite attacking midfield role, but we definitely see a bit more of a conjoined midfield two between McGregor and Hatate, because we get the ball in this situation from back to front a lot quicker. And I must confess, by the way, Palma's first 2 or 3 actions on the ball, I thought, Jesus, this guy might be making me eat my words today. He almost got by strain one time, and I thought, oh my God, he's maybe almost beat somebody there. He looked quite calm on the ball, he looked quite confident as well, and I thought, I called for him, I think it was in the Bruges game, because when you've got a team just banking in and giving you the edge of the box, if you've got a specialist at shooting or crossing from the edge of the box, then it's a good game for him, and I thought Palma definitely had an opportunity to do something in this game, and sadly, the first 2 or 3 actions were good and promising, but it was just a downward spiral from there, just reverting back to the same old Palma, where he couldn't even fashion some space to then get by the to fizz a pass through the right area. He ended up just going back and back, and his impact on the game lessened and lessened as it went on. But Ida, as soon as he came on, by the way, that shot from the edge of the box was very unlucky not to go in. And then the little set-up play that he has when the ball comes in from midfield and he plays Kyogo through, that goal should have won us the game. And like I've been talking about on this channel for a number of weeks, Kyogo has been a man down up front. For Kyogo to be the striker that we all know and believe that he is, and quite frankly, we have not seen in about a year, give or take, he should be eating up chances like this. Never mind the chances he had earlier in the game, because I do think that there's a case for him to be on the score sheet before this chance even happens. And there's maybe like a case to say he's had a hat-trick in this stadium before, and another day maybe that could have happened. But this 1v1 here where the ball gets played through for him, he should be absolutely living and dying on those chances as a goal-scoring, one-touch finish, the man that plays on the last touch of the big build-up play, the finisher in the team. He should be taking those chances all day, every day. And I won't hear any excuses for him not taking that, because quite frankly, there isn't any. And that was like his second or third chance in this game that he really should have been testing the keeper or hitting the back of the net with. And although I don't think we really got too much out of Dyson on this side of the pitch, it was nice to see that on the left-hand side they had something different to deal with, and on the right-hand side for us, which previously with Yang was going down, they had a bit of an easier shift on this side. Ferry and Middleton actually put them under a bit more pressure. Now we now had two sides of the pitch where when we were going to try and knit the play and we were playing it from left to right, building out from the back, if we did go down the left or the right, it was a genuine choice. So it really kept their team and their defence really on their toes a lot more as the game kind of wound on. And again, I thought this was a masterstroke, going 4-2-4, keeping Kyogo on for that high energy, that kind of effort, and playing off of Ida, who I don't know why he didn't start this game, and he has to start the next one for me at this stage. Was definitely the right move to make. But then when Hatate comes off for Bernardo, again, I think, right, okay, we're staying in 4-2-4 mode, and we're bringing on Bernardo to kind of shore up midfield and, alongside McGregor here, so we can just continue to let Taylor go free as well, let Palma have this wide space, let Dyson try and get in the box to maybe make it like three strikers up front, and then can we, build out some play? Can we actually carve open some opportunities where we're fizzing these balls into the box? We've now got more chance of getting somebody on the end of it. And really, it never ended up like that. We still ended up with the ball out in wide areas, going 1v1s and trying to, get some opportunities to fizz the ball across, rather than really what a game like this is calling for is some direct play, And what I mean by that isn't necessarily some of the balls we did see where maybe like Scales or one or two other guys would try and hit the long ball in over the top, but someone actually takes the ball through the middle of the pitch, can play a 1-2, and then you're facing goal and you're putting the strikers on the front foot. And we maybe start to get a little bit of that in the last ebbs and flows of the game as Engels comes on for Dyson Maeda, and then we see a return to 3-4-3 with Kyogo coming out to the wide right area, which I was going to be really fascinating to watch that, see if he actually got any progress down this side of the pitch, to see what he would offer in his current form in a wide position, but it never really came. But we more got Engels, someone who was like going to get the ball in the middle here and try and just go directly forward, go straight towards goal with yourself, playing passes, shots, all the rest of it. And again, the big man was unlucky not to get on the end of it himself. But as the game wore on, you even noticed the same thing that we seen with Palma in the first half, that after his first one or two actions, he looked promising. Nobody wanted to give the ball to Palma anymore, so he ended up just being out here as a kind of wide extra man. And then at all stages of this game, we're missing that Alistair Johnson Arsenal down the right-hand side, and with Kyogo, Dyson, Yang, all these guys, the whole right wing was quite ineffectual. And the left wing, with Dyson throughout the first portion of the game and then Palma throughout the rest, again was very ineffectual. So without anyone in the middle of the pitch until really Engels, Hatate for some small spells in the game, but not being strong enough. And I do think that McKeown, McGregor, Hatate, they really should be tiki-taking their face off in a game like this, getting close to each other, lots of touches of the ball, lots of passes, give and goes, get around the crowd, and then just try and get them working a bit tighter. And then when those wide spaces become available, they can be, capitalised on a little bit better. But we never really done that. And then as we brought more strength into the midfield, we then maybe started to kind of try and kick the door in a little bit more, as it were. And ultimately, this was a game of you don't shoot, you don't score. We did make shots, of course. We did test the goalkeeper, but Kyogo, Dyson's header was actually really unlucky, thinking back on the chances we had in this game, as well as Ida. And it was a really nice curling shot. Yeah, I think it was Kyogo quite early on that would have been nice to see go in. I think it was quite unlucky as well. And, games like this have came this season where a team has really defended in. I don't think any team has looked as toothless as Dundee United did in this game. genuinely, there was no threat on our goal in this game, which allowed us to play that 4-2-4 and try and really throw the kitchen sink at it. But I would have liked us to maybe try to keep maybe just sacrifice a bit of the width here towards the back end of it. Just get Palma, kind of centrally. See when he did come on at first, it was when Yang and McKeown came off for Palma and Yang, I actually was holding my breath a little bit that we might have seen Palma in a central position for McKeown, and we would have maybe seen Kyogo filling out in that space for Yang. And towards the back end of the game, I think we really should have just got these guys that want to be on goal, taking the shot, making the final pass, just really try and get them in there and then try and get the width from the fullbacks, because Dundee United, just as the game went on, offered less and less. We're clinging on to their point more and more, and we've still got too many players out in wide areas, really, for me. And in the last ebbs and flows of the game, we went from throwing the kitchen sink at it to maybe going a wee step back from that, and then maybe just not make the mistake and keep pushing but don't lose by putting Engels back into midfield and making it the 4-3-3. That's kind of what I mean when I say that. But ultimately, this is points dropped for me. Dundee United will definitely look at this as a point gained. And looking at the player ratings for this match, nobody really turned up for us. As you can see, Scales, Welsh absolutely smashed their faces off in terms of their scoring out of 100 in this game. Scales brings in a 99.2, and a huge part of this, I can tell you straight away before looking at it, is accurate final third passes, 43 of them. Like I mentioned in this game, Scales and Welsh were in the Dundee United half for large portions of this game, where the passes they were making were counted as final third passes. That's how high up the pitch they were. Scales made 43 of them of his 152 passes, which is just incredible. Only one attempted assist came from it, right enough. He won a tackle, he won 10 duels, only lost 2, made 2 interceptions. Absolutely colossal performance from Big Scaldini here. And Welsh, very similarly, 150 accurate passes, only 26 of them in the final third, but he did make 19 long passes into the opposition. And like I say, Welsh and Scales actually did play out from the back pretty well in this game without it being totally clinical or really opening the opposition up. A few effective clearances, no tackles or anything like that for Big Welsh, only 1 interception, and he wasn't involved in anywhere near as many duels, despite them wanting to go down that side of the pitch, as it were. Anthony Ralston's maybe came out a little bit more of a winner on that front in this game. No, not actually. A couple of duels, 55 passes, pretty decent from him. Again, across the whole defence, they're averaging about 8 to 9 missed passes, which, considering the volume, ratios are all very, very good. 7 balls into the box for Ralston's, maybe a wee bit more than I would have thought. Greg Taylor on a 56. These are our top performing players outside of Kasper Schmeichel, certainly anyway, in the entire game. A few attempted assists and whatever from Taylor. 89 accurate passes, 32 of them in the final third. So Scales got more final third passes in this game than Taylor and Ralston. Callum McGregor finishes the game 61 out of 100 with a nice rate. 94 accurate passes, 24 of them in the final third. Again, Scales doing more in the final third than Callum McGregor in this game, technically speaking. And I don't think McGregor did anything really in the final third. And as you can see outside of that, everyone else just didn't really turn up. Not anything to speak about here. Kyogo's left this match without a big chance missed because he never actually took that shot. And otherwise, no shots on target for the wee man. Daizen Maeda, 2 shots on target. We were quite unlucky. Maybe one of them didn't find the back of the net. Adam Ida, no shots on target either in this one. So, again, really coming out. This one just really like a blunt instrument. Palma, I think, did get a shot away from the edge of the box, if I remember rightly. But it didn't count. And he did actually get a 1 contest for that one occasion where he maybe did get pie strain. So, I guess we maybe need to say we've seen Palma beat a man today. 8 balls into the box, 2 attempted assists, which for not taking corners, I thought Palma... He had a few moments in the game where his distribution was actually helping us. And if it comes to playing Yang or Palma again, I think Rodgers is going to take Palma, because even on the ball as a static player, even though he can't go by anyone, he's not got pace to open a team up like maybe Yang does, or Forrest, or Kuhn, or whatever. At least you can kind of rely on Palma, like ball to feet, that he can play a good pass. He made a lovely switch in this game as well. Like, he is a very accurate passer and shooter. Just, the rest of this game is just really what lets him down and holds him back. But if we're playing against a team that are really going to camp in and deepen themselves in the way Dundee United are, then, maybe Palma's got a few more minutes to have in a Celtic shirt. But it was a real non-event. Kasper Schmeichel again with a 69 out of 100. And did he actually do anything in this game? 1 save from inside the box, 2 saves in total, 1 sweeper keeper. And across this game, 22 accurate passes, only 3 of them were missed. And I dare say the wind might have had something to do with 1 or 2 of those long ones going out. But a real non-event, a real test of the squad, as it were. And really, this just reinforces what every Celtic fan kind of knows already, that there's a midfielder missing from the equation somehow, somewhere. And there's definitely room in the squad for another wide forward to supplement the roster that we've already got. And, really, the squad isn't too far off, considering, this is, 3rd and 4th choice centre-backs, 2nd choice right-back, last choice midfielder, you'd maybe say Luke McKeown, and then between Yang and Palma, again, last choice wingers 4 and 5, I guess you would reckon them as. It's not even a second string, it's probably closer to a 3rd string lineup that we've had going out in this one. Something that, hey, if the manager had his way, in terms of when would you ever see this 11 selected through choice. This is like Falkirk in the Cup or something like that, isn't it? So I think considering Dundee United are like 4th in the table, beg your pardon, 5th in the table after this game, that this is actually quite a credible point away from home, although it doesn't really feel like that. And for any of the Hoops fans that made the trip out to the city of Discovery, it will feel somewhat like a bit of a wasted afternoon, but a relatively decent point, it must be said. And if everyone who missed this game and some of the guys that came off the bench go on to start the next match and then the next kind of run of fixtures we've got here, I could really see us working towards the game on the 2nd of January with, you know, getting back into real fighting shape, into real optimal form off the back of us coming out of a bit of a difficult window of the season there where, you know, coming into this game we had the midweek off, there was no midweek game to play or anything like that, and I was hopeful that we would have kicked this game off in fashion, in good fashion and style, you know, but it maybe feels that today has just been a bit of a, with the weather, the bug, the random kind of changes to the team, it's just, hey, get out of there undamaged and then we get back to business against Motherwell. Because now with 2 games in a row, Motherwell and then St Johnstone, 3 days apart before then going to Ibrox 3-4 days later, the squad, the team can all be kind of rested at you know, base camp. And, you know, essentially, like, I know we're not at home, but it's not as if we're travelling anywhere. Essentially, with kind of 5 actually, if you go all the way to the Dundee United game, we play them at home on the 8th of January. It's now 5 games in a row where we don't leave Glasgow, which feels like a nice block of fixtures where we could see, you know, the next kind of wave of Celtic dominant performances, high scoring games and everything else. And yeah, like, I think for the next game, I need to see Adamida starting it. And I was a little bit surprised not to see Valley maybe come on. You know, I think actually, I meant to say this earlier, but I guess we can finish on this one. I was, when I seen the lineup, I thought, you know, that we might see Valley come into this game as a winger, you know, because he's certainly more of a winger than Palma, and he kind of has a better version of what Yang gives us on the right, but it could have been on the left. And that was maybe a little bit of an option unused that maybe could have done something to help open it up, because again, good wing play is something that we really missed on both sides of the pitch. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I hope the game didn't spoil your weekend. Hopefully you have a good one. Enjoy the festive period with you and your family and all the rest of it, and we'll be back to see you on Boxing Day for Celtic versus Motherwell. I'll be out of town, so I don't know if there'll be videos and stuff on the channel, but we'll do our best to make sure we've got content here for you guys at the earliest possible opportunity. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment below, all that good stuff, guys. On screen and now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Hail, hail, and Mon the Hoops.